Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and you know what it is when I have my glasses on, it means it's a Let's Talk video. So today I wanted to talk about the election and voting, basically. So I was thinking about this, and a lot of the people that are on my social media are voters, are around my age, so around the 30-ish mark, and they all voted for similar things as me. Not the same party, because I mean, I don't really talk about who I'm voting for, but I do find that a lot of people on my social media, a lot of my friends, which a lot of them are, but also on Twitter, I wouldn't say a lot of my Twitter followers and who I follow are the same, but they do vote for a similar reason. The thing is, voting and politics seems like such an old person's game. Now let me just talk about that. So on a number of occasions I've heard younger people, obviously 18 plus, but younger people talk about politics as just not being interesting, as something they just can't get on board with. It's just run by a load of people who they can't identify with. And that is true. That is true. And the only way that's going to change is if somebody young actually starts working with political parties. I'll throw a name out there because I always find him really inspiring, and I do think it's because I felt like I identified with him because he's not too far off my own age, and that's Chuka Umunna. He is the Labour representative for somewhere in London. I can't remember where now. I usually know. And every time I hear him speak, I feel like he actually understands my needs because he's a similar age. So he was the one that turned me on to politics. I'm not saying that I follow his party or not, but I do find him really inspiring. I'm really gutted that he didn't go for Labour leadership. I think he would have really changed a lot of things. The point being is that it is run by a load of old dinosaurs that don't understand the world today. And I do think that people find that if it was somebody young who engaged on Twitter and really put themselves out there in the way that young people find their information, then maybe it would be different. And I really want to, you know, create a bit of a debate. As you know, I love this sort of thing. But are you a voter? You don't have to say who for. Are you a voter? Do you vote because of policies, or do you vote because you like the look of the candidate? And be as honest as you want, because I think it's important to find this information. People don't know this information, do they? Are you voting because you've read the manifestos? Is it because your family have swayed you a bit? You know, your mum's always voted Conservative, so you'll vote Conservative, that sort of thing. Do you understand the different parties? So, I mean, in a nutshell, how I understand them, and me and my mum spoke at length, and she always wanted me to make my own decisions. I believe that Conservatives, they are people who have come from affluent backgrounds in the most. They're the sort of people, and by the name itself, they are conservative about things. So that things like the family home, like they would quite happily live life like the 50s, where women were in the kitchen and men were out to work. You know, men are more important to the Conservatives, even though they do have a female leader, but they did before, and but they're the sort of women that, I think, give women a bad name because they actually don't help women at all. Anyway, so Conservatives will, for me, and the simplest way to put it is they want to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. They don't see the benefit in helping people. They think people should help themselves. And by that I mean they don't see that people might have other issues surrounding why they have less than everyone else. They believe that you can make your fortune, which you can, and I still think that's possible, but they just don't believe in giving people any sort of help. That includes healthcare, dental care, help getting on the ladder of, you know, they've always been hand-given stuff, so, you know, they will have had help to get through university. They wouldn't give people university, like you wouldn't be given that opportunity to go if you were part of a Conservative government. That maybe these days that has changed, but at some point that hadn't. So I think for Conservatives, for me, I struggle with them because they don't believe in the welfare state. And I'm not saying it should always be handout after handout, but we should, as a nation, feel we look after the people that live in our country. And I think that's a fair thing. If you're comfortable and you're able to eat and have a roof over your head and have basic needs, then I think that that is you doing well. And then I think everybody should have that. And I'm not saying that we should live in a communist country, because they believe in equality for all, but in quite a weird way, which is another thing. Anyway, I just think that there is too much disparage, like too much gap between the rich and the poor when it comes to Conservatives. That is where it is. Labour, which is the other sort of main political party in our country, they believe in the working man. They believe in people working, and if they're not working, they get help from the government. They feel like the government should do more for those that are really putting in the hard graft, those that want to afford their own homes, those that want to, at the heart of it, in the old sort of laboury times, they were there to help everyone a bit more. They're a bit more socialist. So you've got two sides, communist, socialist. They're a bit more trying to get people to... It helps people but doesn't give them handouts for free. Some people might disagree. These are just very vague ways of saying things. So Liberal Democrats, which don't seem to be visible at all. They used to be quite a big party, but things went wrong after they had the coalition with the Conservatives, which I think was mainly because the Conservatives pushed them into a corner. They've always been seen as the on the fence. And I think I was always led to believe that they were somewhere in between the two. So they weren't massively giving out handouts, etc. They weren't massively making the rich richer. But what they were trying to do was take a little bit of both and give them, like, everybody the opportunity to make money, or the opportunity to enrich their lives, but also the opportunity to help people as well. That is really vague, but they're almost like the middle grounders. And I think a lot of people used to vote for them because they just weren't sure. They felt with being liberal, it means that you have a very different view in terms of you're not massively swayed by... You might have had an affluent background, but you might be somebody who actually doesn't want to be seen as that. That's the only way I can really describe it. Anyway, then you have the likes of the Green Party, UKIP, and other smaller parties. I would say they were smaller. UKIP obviously was to give UK independence, and what with Brexit, that is going to happen. So UKIP's sort of fallen off the radar, and those that voted for UKIP, I think, were Conservative, went to UKIP, and are now back Conservative. For me, these are the older generation who keep saying, oh, we want to make Britain good again, but they forget how awful it was. Like, they've got houses of their own, they've got money, they don't have the struggles that young people have, but they're making the decisions. That really frustrates me. So they're the guys who have decided the future for all of us. And I put myself in the young person category because I've still got, well, at least 45 years of working now, being that pension age is going to increase so much. That's another story. So lots of older people tend to vote and lots of younger people don't. And that's what I'm trying to get at. It's just that those people that are making the decisions for us are people like our grandparents who are completely out of touch with reality. Not completely, you know, some of them aren't. But you do feel that the people who are making the decisions, the same in politics, what we see politicians are the people who don't know who we are, don't understand who we are. So in terms of voting and being young, and you just have to think about why you're doing it. It's not because you don't believe in it. It's not because you don't believe in any parties. Some part of me is like, well, why don't we just make something new? Political parties don't have to be the ones that are there. You can create new parties. That's the whole point, you know. A member of parliament can be anybody. It can be me, it can be you. And I think that is the thing. You don't have to be... If you have beliefs, then you should try and find the party that you relate to most. And you can really influence that. Now, I've not done that. I've not joined one yet. And I'm considering it because I feel like there just isn't anybody out there that represents me or people who are younger than me. But I still don't think I'm the best person to do that at the moment. But then who knows? Who knows? I think there's a lot of things, though, that as a nation, we tend to forget that young people are going to be the ones that are affected. And we are losing out on things because of it. You know, we will not have... If we lose our jobs, we might as well lose our homes, and we may as well live on the street. And if you live on the street, you lose everything. You won't have free healthcare. Basically, the end result is death. And that is awful. But they just... A lot of... people like the people who believe in UKIP and the Conservatives, they wouldn't care if the poor died because it's basically littering their street. That is how they feel. And as much as that hurts to say, and they'll cover it in all these different agendas that sound like they're good, but it's bull crap. And if you try not to listen to the media, the Sun newspaper, you know, and if you didn't know this, papers, I don't know, I'm not trying to preach to the converted or teach my grandmother to suck eggs, but newspapers are affiliated to different political parties, so you have to be aware of the things that you're reading. You know, that's why the Independent, for example, is called the Independent, because it's actually more about not being affiliated with a political party. They've all got their own agenda, and they're feeding you all of this stuff to make you vote for that party or believe in it. What you read in the paper is not always true. And in fact, a lot of the time it is there just to scaremonger or put fear into you, or to make you think that something is happening that isn't really. If you have even the slightest bit of intelligence, please do your research and please think about voting, because it's you that gets affected. If you don't vote, it means you've basically given a vote to the person who has won. Not voting doesn't mean you haven't given a vote. It means that you've sided with the person. Having the opportunity to vote is such a good thing. There are countries that do not let you do it. Being a female, being able to vote is something that we fought for, not personally obviously, but as a group of women, as sisterhood. It's something that women gave their lives for. It's so important, and I have put myself up for a postal vote, so it means I don't even have to leave the comfort of my own home. And I received that in the post maybe a week or two before the votes are coming in. The general election is coming up. We've just had a local elections in my area, and we actually had one of the candidates knock on our door. They were the only ones, and he canvassed and he came and he chatted to us and he sounded really positive. And I have to say that almost swayed my vote, because he made it much more personable and he said what he believed in and why he was doing it. And that to me is important. But nobody else is doing it, and I feel like we're missing a trick here. Anyway, I don't want to ever tell you who to vote for. Obviously, you can tell that I'm not a Conservative voter, and that is because my circumstance is, if I lost my job, I would require help, and I wouldn't have anybody else to fall back on. I wouldn't have mummy and daddy to fall back on. I require help. Also, my mum is on dialysis, as you know. If the NHS is privatised in any way, unfortunately, it would mean she would have to pay for that, and she couldn't, and she would die. That is the end of it. So I can't, from a personal point of view, I can't support the Conservatives. It doesn't mean that I'm saying who I vote outside of that, but that is my reasoning. You might be okay with that, and that's fine. This is the whole point of democracy, but I'm allowed to say that it should be in a democratic way. It would be great if you thought about why you're not doing it. And if you could let me know down below, I'd love to know. If you didn't vote, why was that? I think exercising the right not to vote is fine. But at the same time, by not voting, you're giving people that opportunity to win that shouldn't. And then you'll get very upset when things don't go your way. So it just gives you that voice. Anyway, I know that was a bit of a rant, and I know that it's a bit of a hardcore video, but I think it needs to be said. You know me, I love getting on my high horse about things. I hope you've enjoyed the video anyway, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and give it a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it. Take care, guys.